afternoon, mindFULLme family. My name is Brendan Garcia. I am here today to talk with 365 Health, but currently it's just me. Daniel, it won't be here today. He's doing some work, so he has to attend to that. So I'll be doing it solo, and hope everybody's holidays have been going well. I know mine have. Been here with my family. I hope everyone's there with their family, eating food, doing the best they can. And hopefully when Christmas comes around, we all get the gifts we want. Now, on to the episode. Today, we're going to be talking about, just meat in general. And then we'll talk about how you could be more well-rounded in terms of, eating food. How you could, well-round your diet. Because like I said before, it's all up to you to experiment. I do research on my own time to see what is best for me. I experiment here at home with my father, my family, and I do the best I can when it comes to taking my health into my hands. So, meat. What meats do we usually eat on a daily basis? Usually we eat chicken and steak, and our body gets used to that type of stuff. So why don't we just change it up for a bit, let's just change it up to things like pork or seafood. Those are two of the best ideas that I usually have when it comes to eating food. Pork, one of those things that is usually considered a taboo food to eat. Now, some people have their religious reasons on why they don't want to eat pork, and that is completely fine. Don't eat pork if you have those religious, ideas. Stick to your beliefs. But I still say pork is one of those foods that you should definitely eat. There's nutritional value to it. And like other foods, it has more of something than it does than the other. So definitely add it into your diet if you don't eat it already enough. Pork is considered an unhealthy meat, sadly, by the community. And it's got that name because it's a meat that carries viruses. So usually pigs are one of those things. They're what are they called? What are wild pigs called? Boars. Wild boars. So boars usually eat anything. Yeah. It's pretty kind of disgusting sometimes when you think about it, because these boars, these pigs, they eat anything. Like, there are times where these pigs will eat meat. Like, yeah, pigs eat meat. If you didn't know, they can eat meat. They need to survive. They'll cannibalize on their own species. They'll eat other types of animals that are just there. If there's nothing to eat, they'll eat. If there's a deer that's been eaten by wolves and the carcass is still there, these pigs will go and eat that carcass of deer to consume it for nutrients because they are starving. They'll eat anything. They even eat defecate sometimes. It's pretty weird, the type of things they eat. But when it comes to controlled environments, which hold pigs and whatnot, they just give them troughs of food, which can consist of meat, but it's a mixture of meat, vegetables, fruits, and all this, so they get an overall good diet. There's processes that pork goes through to be cleaned, so they won't necessarily be dirty all the time if they're in a controlled environment, but their nature is to be a little bit dirty. Some pigs stay in mud, they relax there, they do a lot of mating. It's a thing that's in this pig's natural habitat that they do. And in a controlled environment, we keep them as clean as possible, and then after they're slaughtered, they do go through a cleaning process so that they're clean. But when it comes to eating them, the risk of having the viruses that they have can be, you can get past that barrier by overcooking the meat. You never want to eat pork raw. If you ask anybody, you never want to eat pork raw. And whoever cooks pork, they'll always tell you. You can ask seasoned chefs. They'll tell you, never cook pork raw. Like, don't do it medium well. Don't do it medium rare. it will always have to be well done, or you could be susceptible to getting those viruses or diseases that pork can carry in their meat. So be careful of that. What's another thing? Seafood. I love seafood. Seafood is probably one of my favorite. It's my favorite type of food to eat, and I recommend it because food from the ocean has so many nutritional values you don't even know. Not from the ocean exactly, but salmon is one of the most nutritional fish in the ocean. So if you didn't know, salmon carry vitamin D. And where else do you usually get vitamin D? You get it from the sun. Now, if you're not the type of person who is usually active and is taking things day by day, then you kind of have to, think about how you get certain nutrients, certain vitamins. Vitamin D is actually a hormone, so it's even more essential for your body than you'd think. But for now, we just call it vitamin D. Vitamin D, if you don't usually go out and get sunlight, it's just 5 minutes of sunlight a day that you really need to get the right amount of vitamin D every day. Sunny D. Salmon, really good food if you're not going out one day, or you want to get more vitamin D than you should without hurting your skin. Then you want to eat salmon. Salmon carries a ton of vitamin D that's really nutritious for you, and not to mention, salmon is a really good meat. Personally, when I cook salmon, I hate it well done. I that's why I cook my own salmon. I don't let anybody else cook it for me because they don't cook it right. Yeah, I'm a bit picky about that, but when I eat salmon, I cook it the way I can. And not to mention, it's a fish you can eat raw. So that's another benefit to it. Usually when, you don't even have to go and get salmon. You could go to a sushi place and get a roll that has salmon in it, and you wouldn't even know it has salmon in it, and you'll get the nutrients of the vitamin D from it because it's in salmon. Really delicious. I eat my salmon rawer than I would other, so I sear it. What I like to do with my salmon is I sear it, but the inside is raw. So it's another way of getting your vitamin D and a way of cooking your salmon. Yeah, another awesome fish you should definitely eat is tuna. People overrate tuna or underrate it. I don't know. Tuna is one of my favorite foods to eat from the sea, and what we usually do is I get these tuna steaks. Tuna steaks are really good because it's not just tuna that it's something you can make into like a dish. What I could do is do a sesame seed tuna, and I get the nutrients I get out of it that I wouldn't get it anywhere else. Tuna is one of the best fish. Let me look up the nutrients for tuna. Tuna nutrients to just tell you the benefits you can get from it. It carries vitamin C, B, and it has other things. It even has iron, which is pretty cool. And the protein you get from it is pretty good. You can get 43 grams of protein from just one singular tuna, like the fish itself. But of course, we're talking about these singular steaks. One thing to add great to your diet, I'm sure. Let me see. Seafood with vitamin D, because I know salmon is one, but is cod one of them? I'm pretty sure cod is one of them. No, actually, sardines are one of the seafoods that contains vitamin D, which is really cool and so does tuna. Tuna as well contains vitamin D. Cod, haddock, shrimp, crab, a lot of these things that you eat on a daily basis. Tilapia. Wow. What a surprise. Another fish that there's so many fish that contain vitamin D. It's pretty insane. It's that you eat on a daily basis. Cod, tilapia, salmon, tuna. Really good fish. Crab apparently has it. Oh, actually, never mind. I lied. Crab does not have it. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. Crab does not have vitamin D. I lied. Um, like like land animals, caviar, added to your plate. Nothing's wrong with that. Just keep yourself well rounded. I'm just giving you ideas of foods that you can eat and what their nutritional values are. I think crustaceans have some type of nutritional value. You can eat crustaceans if you want. If you're allergic, don't eat it. Obviously, you'll get a bad allergic reaction if you're allergic to it. So I recommend to not eat crustaceans if you cannot eat them if you're allergic. But it's a really good food to eat if you want to make yourself well-rounded. Not everybody has access to crustaceans. I don't eat crustaceans as often as I usually eat fish and land animal food, red meats. So it's another thing. On a side note, you could eat exotic foods, exotic meats. One of the exotic meats that I really recommend you eat is alligator if you live in Florida. Alligator is probably one of the coolest meats to eat because you're literally eating a dinosaur. It's really cool. Alligator has a very awesome texture to it too. It's kind of gamey but that's what everybody says. It's gamey. I don't know how to really describe gamey. All I know is it has a different texture than other meats that you'd eat on land. Very weird texture. There's barely any fat in it from when I eat it. There's barely any fat. It's high in protein, so go try it at your own leisure. Another really awesome meat that I was able to try is iguana. But you kind of have to be careful with iguana because they carry salmonella in almost like 50% of them. So just be careful if you do cook iguana, and make sure you cook it well done because that will take the salmonella out of it. But iguana tastes like chicken. It has different nutritional value than chicken, but it feels like chicken. The texture is like chicken, and the taste kind of like chicken as well. You'll see, you could feel the similarities when you eat that. But I'm just going to exotic meats right now. You don't gotta eat any of this. I'm just giving you ideas if you are crazy enough to go and actually cook iguana or go try alligator. It's a good thing that, like I said before, it's always good to throw your body a curveball it's never expecting. Another thing. Yeah, just want to be careful with that. If you do go with meats that are like cold cuts, be careful. I don't think anybody should be eating bologna. That is the most disgusting meat ever. The processing of bologna is almost satanical. It is really bad, the processing that bologna goes through. So be careful when you go get cold cut meats, because things like bologna, there are other cold cut meats that go through really bad processing. But bologna doesn't even really have what even is bologna? I don't even know what bologna is. Bologna cold cut. Bologna is it doesn't even tell me. Okay, so it's a sausage, is what it's saying. It's a sausage, but what is actually the meat? I'm looking at this and it doesn't tell me what the actual meat of bologna is, which kind of scares you. What really is in your meat? Yeah, it's you go to your local deli, you will always have bologna there. But what even is bologna? I don't even know what it is. I'm looking it up right now, and I don't even know what it actually consists of. It's known it could be made from chicken or turkey. Okay, well, that's nice to know after a while. So it's chicken and turkey. But bologna, I know, because it's a sausage, it goes through a type of process which has to be grinded and mushed into a paste. Almost like a hot dog. If you know what hot dog processing is, look up the video on YouTube. There's like a really famous video on YouTube, which is insanely like horrid of how hot dog goes through processing. Yeah, bologna goes through that same process of having to make the meat more mushy. You have to mush it, and then they form it, and then they put a coat over it with like pig intestine, like most sausages usually do. They use a pig intestine. But at least with regular sausages, they're of course smaller, but they have, you could see what's in the meat. You could see it. When it comes to bologna, you have like just like this plain paste, which looks a pasty look to it, and it doesn't look appetizing. And not to mention the process it goes through, it's kind of horrid and, disgusting. So I personally wouldn't put this in my body. But that's just me. It's all up to gut instinct at that point. I personally don't prefer you get bologna. Things like pastrami, things like turkey, things like, of the like pepperoni. What's another like pepperoni? Dang, I forgot. But those type of meats are good. They go through a bit of a different process, but when it comes to them, you have the actual meat there, and they cut it for you. With bologna, it's already a sausage. Sausage process for it is already like there. So I don't really like the sausage processes of meat, like pepperoni, bologna, salami. You got to be careful with those because they're processed. But at the end of the day, if it's natural and it's, stayed and it's organic, you should definitely eat it. I don't think there's much wrong with it except for the process that it goes through. But at the end of the day, you'll be fine. Like, look, what is this? I looked up bologna cold cut and Dollar Tree came up. Kind of weird. I don't know why Dollar Tree would come up of all places, but I guess it goes to show you bologna is a cheap meat. Excuse me. Moving on to the next thing. Being well-rounded. Oh my god, excuse me. I'm like burping all over the place. Being well-rounded with, foods. Like I was going over, I went over so many types of meats. Why did I go over all those? I went over those for the reason that you want to be well-rounded in how you eat food. You want to throw your body multiple things so that it keeps on guessing. It's always good to, and not to mention for your own, mentality, it, soothes you every time. You're always having something new. Everything's different. It's not always the same thing. It's the same with other foods, nuts and things like that. Another big thing is nuts. When it comes to well-rounding your diet, nuts and seeds are one of those things you want to add into your diet because they're really good for you, but we don't eat them. And a good way of doing them is through the best invention ever is smoothies and shakes. Smoothies and shakes, there's so many things that they put in there, like seed and nut wise, that you don't even notice that they're there because it tastes so good because they put so many apples, bananas, blueberries, and vegetables in there that you don't even notice that they're in there. And it's a good way of getting the nutrients, You get something that tastes good and something that's also nutritious at the same time. So, kill two birds with one stone. Another great way of doing it is, there's what I usually do with my shakes is, usually when we make them at home, we put in a couple apples, we put in a couple bananas. If we have a different fruit, like a very just random fruit, you could put oranges in it and strawberries. It gives it this good, a bit of a citrus, but also a sweet flavor to it. And so you just throw in things like a turmeric or kale to give it a little green texture and a little bit of a aftertaste, because kale has a bit of an aftertaste and turmeric has a bit of an aftertaste as well, which also add to it. And kale and those you don't want to eat. You don't want to eat kale by itself. I remember there's one time I went to Whole Foods. I had this kale salad with lemon. The worst thing I could have ever had. It's disgusting to eat kale by itself. It's so dry. It's so nasty. You do not want to eat it by itself. But throw it into a shake, you won't even taste it. It'll taste like apple. It'll taste like a combination of stuff. You know that one scene in Ratatouille where he's eating cheese and grapes and bread and all these other fruits, and he's just combining them together, and he's getting these different. He's having these thoughts in his head where he's feeling the taste in his head and conjuring it up into something. Then he combines them together to make something in his head that is a euphoric feeling of a mixture of tastes. That's kind of like what you're doing with the shakes. And you won't taste good or bad. The combination of both makes it amazing. So that analogy of what Ratatouille did, of what Remy did in Ratatouille, is a really good thing that you're doing with the shakes and the smoothies. So I recommend people who do that. Just if you want to have something good to go to, work with or go to school with, get a shake. Maybe even go to like Smoothie King or something like that. Go to Smoothie King, grab a smoothie, or I don't know what's another. I'm trying to think of another smoothie place. Java something. I don't know. There are places you can get smoothies at. They're all over the place. Smoothie King's probably one of the biggest ones I know. That is not the most nutritious. It's more like sweet than it is nutritious, but they put in other vegetables in their shakes, so it's not just fruits. So that's one of those things I recommend when it comes to when I did my research in terms of how to add things I don't like into foods I like to make something I enjoy. That's how you get your fruits, vegetables, and nuts all in one. When it comes to salads, we all do it. We put on a dressing, a balsamic or something like that. Just, experiment with it. There's ways to make food enjoyable that you don't like. Some people I know who don't like mangoes. Okay, well, they like smoothies, they like shakes, so I'm just going to make a shake, throw in a mango in there, they're not going to even notice it. Like, this tastes good. Oh, yeah, I put in pineapple, this, that, and, a secret fruit, Oh, what's a secret fruit? Mango. Like, what? No way. It tastes so good. Well, there goes your not liking to mangoes or something like that, There's a lot of things you could do to eat things you need, To get the nutritional value out of things, you go through certain processes to actually make it enjoyable. And that's what's most important about your diet, is that you will go out of your way to make the things you don't like that you need for your health to make it enjoyable. And it's not just always about, eating through it, just enduring the disgustingness of something, or like, the dryness of kale and its, bad aftertaste. It's about, going out of your way to make it enjoyable, You're not going to sit there and endure it. Nobody's going to do it. You're not going to stick to it. There's no way you would stick to it. You're going to go out of your way to enjoy it and stuff like that. And that's what I have for you today. Sadly, Daniel couldn't be here today to talk with me about, processes and whatnot. But I hope everybody got something out of this. At the end of the day, that's what matters, is that you get something out of this, and then you go out and you have that as a foundation and you branch out. I hope everybody has great holidays for the rest of December and into the new year. And I will see you all in the next episode. Hope you all have a great day. Good night.